Next, a short subject. We're going to talk for a few minutes about the Hunley, the Confederate submarine, the first submarine in the history of naval warfare to sink an enemy ship. Recently, the Hunley toured America. Did anyone have a chance to see the Hunley? No. I was just so impressed with the engineering and the ingenuity of the men who made this submarine. I felt this just had to be shared with members of our Civil War roundtables, and I'm happy to share it with you this morning. So let's visit the Hunley. Here she is underway to meet her date with destiny. 40 feet long, only 4 feet in height, powered by a crew of 9 men cranking by hand a screw propeller to reach a top speed of 4 miles per hour. Now you may have thought, as I did, that snorkel tubes were an invention of the Nazis for their World War II U-boats, but here they are on the Hunley, a full 50 years before the first Nazi was ever born, one for taking in fresh air and one for expelling stale air with a hand bellows. Charleston, South Carolina, historic city, cradle of the Confederacy. Fort Beauregard, where General P.G.T. Beauregard, Pierre Gustave Toutant Beauregard, gave the order to fire on Fort Sumter, the opening shot of the American Civil War. Fort Wagner, same name but no connection. If you saw the movie Glory with Denzel Washington and Morgan Freeman, a young Matthew Broderick portrayed Colonel Robert Shaw, commander of a regiment of black troops that were raised by his family, a family of fervent abolitionists, and they were led by Colonel Robert Shaw in a futile attack on Fort Wagner with great loss of life, including his own. With the onset of war, the Union blockaded all southern ports, and here the USS Housatonic is stationed 4 miles offshore to prevent any material from coming out or goods from being shipped in. The Housatonic, powered by steam and sail, along with her 3 sister ships at the beginning of the war, comprised the core of the United States Navy. On February 17, 1864, the Hunley blew up and sank the Housatonic. 160 men were on board. Only 5 died. 2 boats were lowered and saved many of the men, and others were able to cling to the masts and rigging which remained above the water after the boat had settled on the bottom. The Hunley also went to the bottom with all hands. This was the 3rd time the Hunley had sank. In 2 earlier trial runs, the Hunley sank, taking with her her entire crew, including Lieutenant Horace L. Hunley, the inventor of the submarine. In 1995, the wreck of the Hunley was discovered at the bottom of Charleston Harbor under only 30 feet of water covered with much sand and silt. And in 2002, she was brought back to the surface. Here she is at St. Catherine's Academy in Anaheim, where a Civil War reenactor is explaining the workings of the submarine to these students. These are the snorkel tubes. They can be cranked 90 degrees to a perpendicular position when needed. Notice this spool of cable. We'll see what that was for in a moment. Here's a better view of the cranking mechanism, how that worked to power a 3-foot screw propeller. And the business end, a 15-foot forward spar with a 90-pound canister of powder and a barbed hook which was impaled through the wooden hull of the Housatonic. Then the submarine backed off until that entire spool of cable was unreeled, pulling the trigger, causing the explosion. There was actually a movie made about the Hunley. Lieutenant Dixon, the final commander of the Hunley, portrayed by Armand Asante, and General Beauregard, surprisingly well played by Donald Sutherland. It's a pretty good movie. I thought there were some inaccuracies, but when I checked back on the historical data, it was in fact quite accurate. There are 2 documentaries about raising the Hunley, one by National Geographic, one by the History Channel. They're both very good.